Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Linux Experiences. This is the On Deck edition, and according to the name, you can already guess what this will be about. But first, grab your cup of coffee and listen what I have to say after 2 days with this awesome device, the Steam Deck. When Valve initially announced the Steam Deck, I, as a Linux user, has been completely overwhelmed. The effort that Valve has put into the way to get there is awesome. From the Steam native Linux client to Steam machines, to the Steam controller, to Steam VR, to Proton, and now it all has come together very nicely into a new device, which is called the Steam Deck. And as soon as the pre-orders became available, I was struggling a little bit to get my order placed because I wanted to pay with PayPal, but that was completely overloaded. Luckily, I'd still had some funds on my Steam wallet, and with that I could pay the deposit. So when Valve first announced that they have to postpone the initial delivery date, which has been the 21st of December, and due to the worldwide pandemic and the supply chain issues, it was pushed back to February. And even there, I was not on the very first batch, but I was still queued for Q1 with my 512 gigabyte model, and I got it on the next week. So yeah, it arrived. The mail was sent out on a Monday at about 6:30. And I think I received it like 15 minutes later. It took me a little bit to finalize the order because logging in, PayPal, this time PayPal worked, of course. And yeah, within 15 minutes, I have had my confirmation email that I have paid for the device and that it will be sent to me eventually. It arrived then on Friday, and it was a pretty big package. We have seen some of these already. They're not that small. And inside, this is also the package of the device itself. So there is not another package really inside. So when you open this, you have seen these already, the recommendations where you can use your deck now. Also with the first instructions that you have to plug in the charger at first and then turn on the device, the power supply, and the wrapping around the deck itself. And this is it. There is no additional package there. This is the package itself. And the device itself, I was surprised that this complete package was so heavy. So it is a little bit heavier than, for example, the Nintendo Switch. So inside is the case, of course, where the device is inside. And it does have a little latch here where you can pull it to take it out. And this is the device. And when I took it out for the first time, I immediately felt the high quality production. You hold this in your hand, there is no bending or whatever. This is, it feels very valuable. Especially, I think, due to the weight as well. And I was surprised how it snapped into my hands. So my fingers are immediately resting on the back pedals. I don't have to reseat the device when I want to switch between the D-pad, the buttons, and the analog sticks. Only when I want to reach out to the touchpads. Then I have to lift it a little bit to reach them. But I guess when you're playing games, you are not reseating the device all the time. And I was charging this already. I mean, I've used this already for 2 days. So some games I have already installed. And it is impressive. This is the only thing I can say. It is so impressive how well some games work, if they are verified or not. And I was very surprised that some games are even marked as unsupported, even though I was able to play them pretty fine. There are some games that are unsupported and you can tweak a little bit around with this and get it to work, but more on that a little bit later. So for the first impressions, the new UI the Steam OS UI. It feels fresh. It feels like, I mean, it was made for this device and it totally fits. I was a little bit sad though, because I also wanted to show this, of course, on stream. As I'm streaming on twitch.tv/Corm78, I was unboxing this live and I wanted to show the content to everybody. So I also got a dock. This is a DELOCK. As Valve said, you can use any USB-C dock. So I got the DELOCK 87683. And this is capable of doing 100 watts power delivery. And I was plugging in power into this and then into the device, and it didn't work. Later, I found out that if you plug this in without the power, then it does work. And I was, I do not really understand what it is. So the device still has some issues. Maybe it's software, maybe it's not possible. I have no idea, but we'll figure that out. And especially as Valve is releasing an official dock, which should come late spring 2022 this year, I will switch to the official dock. Nevertheless, though, the dock, even if the official dock will work out of the box, there are some issues. So this now does work, and I will attach it to show you. So I have an HDMI capture card. I'm using the XR1 Lite from EVGA, which is certified for OBS, and it works great on Linux. The only thing I have is that when it's attached while I boot, then OBS doesn't start. I don't know what that is, but if I attach it later, it works pretty fine. So at the moment, I am in the Steam UI mode, in the gaming mode. And when I attach this, it takes a little bit to pick up. The screen on the device goes black, and it will show now through the capture card. But this is the disadvantage, because with this, you can still operate the device. This all works, but I cannot use the internal screen and the external one. It's not mirrored. It's just switching to the external monitor, which is in my case even a 1080p screen. So here, the output is 1080p, and I cannot see it on the deck. So in fact, this is now turned into a controller, and that's not how I want to show how to operate the deck. The cool thing about this is, though, that it is using FSR automatically then. For FSR to work, you have to set the in-game resolution lower to the output resolution of the monitor. And if you can turn down the resolution in-game and use still the internal screen, it will use FSR. In this case, it will auto-use FSR. So when we start the game, there's even a Vulkan mode specially made for the deck. Then we can go to the activities button here. Not yet. All right, so now we can click the activities button and go to the performance level here. And in the overlay, set this to maybe level 3, and there we see FSR is on. And that's pretty cool. And you also realize that this is still the internal screen, because the Mango Hut overlay, which is integrated in SteamOS, is a little bit outside on the left of the game screen itself. So I was looking for a solution. I mean, at first I wasn't even able to show this at all on screen, but then we were looking for a solution and found that you can do this with the Steam Link app. So I quit the game here again and disconnect the dock. It will automatically switch, of course, to the internal screen again. And here Mango Hut is, of course, aligned with the screen. So the alternative to show the thing on screen is to use the Steam Link app. This is available as a Flatpak on Ubuntu. And I have connected my deck already, so I can directly connect to this. And I have already switched this screen so it's a little bit capped on the sides. So this is what I now see on the deck as itself. And with that, I can play on the deck, but also share the content of the screen. And this is pretty awesome. This is how it should have been with the capture card as well. So I wish there will be a mode that is mirroring the internal screen, except of extending that. For the docking station, that will make sense, because then you will have to dock the deck, and then you are using keyboard and mouse or whatever. But to share the content itself, this is done better with the Steam Link app, at least for me. And there you can also see that the Mango HUD overlay is now aligned. So this is the internal screen, as well as FSR is now off. And then you can play the game. It's pretty impressive how performant this device is. So I was able, for example, to play Elite Dangerous. And Elite Dangerous is even shown as unsupported. I don't know why that is. I haven't played too much into it. I don't know how the process of Valve verifying those games works. But I was able, for example, to play through the tutorial, because you have to learn how to play with the internal controls. You are mostly not attaching any keyboard or mouse. So that's why you have to learn how that works. And I went with in Elite Dangerous with the training course at first, and that worked flawless. After I was setting this to the borderless screen instead of the full screen. When it was set to full screen, it was flickering a lot. So maybe that's the reason. But in the end, I was able to play the game. So I would say it's playable with some tweaks. The other game where I was wondering why it got unsupported was Ruiner. Ruiner is also listed as unsupported, even though this works well with the Proton version, which is set by Valve testing, and with the Steam Linux runtime, which will then download the native Linux version of the game. And I was able to play both of them. I played the complete first level without issues. Maybe there's an issue later, but completely unsupported is a little bit strange, to be honest. Also, what's interesting to see, you don't, at least that's interesting for me to see as a Linux gamer. I'm interested, of course, to use the native Linux ports of games when they are working well enough on the device, of course. But for example, for Ruiner, the native port works pretty well. And to be able to see which version is installed, this is a little bit more tricky to realize than it is on the desktop. So we were struggling, for example, to figure out if, like, Mesa would be using the native Linux version or the Proton version. Here we can see that the game is not tested yet. It's unknown, but we don't see anything else here. That means it will download the native Linux version. As soon, though, as they show anything there, for example, with the desktop, here we can see this is set to the Steam Linux runtime, so it will use the native version. And if there is no info at all, and it does have a native Linux version, it will use that. That was a little bit tricky to figure out, as you can see this a little bit more easy on the desktop, but here the info is hidden under the game info. Nevertheless, it is so impressive to see how the games perform. So Cyberpunk, for example, works really well when you enable FSR in-game. When I was not enabling FSR, it was a little bit stuttery here and there, and I heard if you limit it to 30 FPS, then it would work. But if you set this in-game just to FSR ultra quality, it is smooth as butter. It's really cool. I advise, though, to disable the launcher here for Cyberpunk at least, because when we started that, it was bringing up the launcher, and that's a little bit annoying. I was wondering why that is not auto-enabled. So here I enabled ultra quality in the settings, and then the benchmark was above 40 FPS on average, which is a great experience on deck. So now it's for me time to test all the games and show you how they work, but those will come in separate videos. So I can tell you, this is an awesome device. The fan is a little bit audible. So as soon as you are having headphones on, or if you have a little bit more volume on the device itself, it won't matter though. It's not a high-pitched, annoying noise, but it's audible. But other than that, the production quality of the device is great. It feels great in your hand, and I was surprised. I was playing Cyberpunk, I was playing Elite, I was playing No Man's Sky. Those are all kind of demanding games, but on my hands, I didn't feel any warmth of the device. On the back though, you can totally feel it. And if you have the Mango Hut overlay enabled, you can see it goes up to 80 degrees or something like that, but you don't feel anything on your hands. So it's a impressive thermal design, and as it feels so good to lay in your hands, be happy when you have yours in your hands. It is so cool. I'm so happy about this. I can't be happier, even though it does still have its quirks. But as I'm a Linux gamer and a Linux user, I like to tweak around with the things, so I don't mind tinkering with this. And even if you are more the customer type of user, it doesn't matter. Go with the verified titles and you'll have more fun than you have free time. So it is all in all an awesome device, still having some issues, but I think over time Valve will fix them. So if you still don't have your device, see it as a time where Valve has time to improve the software, and that will happen. So yes, I'm so happy about this device. Get yours. Thanks for watching. See you on a follow-up video. Have a nice day, and until next time. Bye-bye.